Oh, great. I might turn on. Just bear with me just a moment here.
Yep.
Okay, I believe we are live on YouTube and Periscope. Periscope's being a little slow. We are live on Facebook and on Instagram Live is coming online right now.
What's your podcast called?
Create and Engage with Todd.LIVE. And my page is Todd.LIVE. All right, folks, I am on today. I'm going to do a soft intro really quick before I bring him in. I am with the one and only Owen Hemsath with Owen.Video and videospot.net. I am so excited to have him on. He's from Oceanside, California. I'm up in Irvine, so at some point we'll run into each other on the circuit here in Southern California. This is a podcast within a live video. So again, this is just a real quick soft intro. We're going to go into the podcast. Let me get it started right now. This is Todd Bergen with the Create and Engage with Todd.LIVE podcast. The Create and Engage podcast with Todd.LIVE. Today I have Owen Hemsath with Owen.Video. You may know him as Owen.Video on YouTube. His company is called videospot.net. He is a very active YouTuber, social media guy. He's a big live streamer. He has a great show called The Business of Video with a co-host, Nick Nimmin. In fact, he just got off the show a few minutes ago. I watched it. It was a fabulous program. I've actually watched many of them, but today was really good. In fact, his guest, I just stumbled upon her this week. Brian Fanzo had tweeted her out, and I had never seen her before, and I found her on Anchor and listened and responded. She's great. In fact, Owen, your guest's name, I forget her name right off the top, and I know she's got kind of a tricky name.
Eileen Smith.
Eileen Smith. Okay. But anyway, Owen has been doing video for many years. He is going to be at Vid Summit coming up. He's been doing that for 4 years. He's very accomplished. He's got 25,000 subscribers on YouTube. He teaches people in his BizTube Academy how to rock it on YouTube. Owen, how you doing today?
I am so good, and thank you so much for that introduction. I feel like that introduction deserves just a big round of applause.
Oh, dude, you're bringing in sound. Awesome.
And I'm just playing around with my toys. That's all I'm doing. But no, it's great to be here. Yeah, and Eileen Smith is great, and Todd, you're great. It's so nice to be, a part of this community, in the live streaming, the podcasting, the video community where we're constantly pushing forward. We're constantly testing, sometimes getting arrows in the back and sometimes really breaking through. So thanks for having me.
Dude, it's been a long time coming. I have watched your content. I have watched so many pieces of your content. TubeBuddy, getting started in TubeBuddy. I was all over your channel. You've got a lot of great instructional videos on that. And you just rock it on YouTube. So I have to wonder, when did you get started on YouTube and why?
Yeah, great question. I got started on YouTube about 4 or 5 years ago, and I could actually check my, my big video, because I kind of relate my start on YouTube to the big video, the first one that actually took off. I created a YouTube channel years before as a repository for the video work that I was doing. I've always sort of had a video camera in my hand, always doing goofy things, playing around in TV and TV production. So it was just a place where I was dumping all my content. I was just dumping content there. As I got into the entrepreneurial business after the 22nd time that I had been fired. I've been fired 22 times. I've only had 19 jobs, my friend. So I've gone back in, and they said, no, Owen, seriously, you're fired. I'm just not made for the corporate scene, not made for the day-to-day job scene. And after I lost my last job, and get this, it was my friend that actually hired me. She's like, hey, why don't you come work for me? And within 6 weeks, she let me go. And I said to my wife, I said, babe, my friends won't even hire me. Like, we have to look at something different. Like, the job market's not for me. And so we went into online marketing, and I started developing websites. I actually bought a course on how to build websites, and started doing videos. I did one video explaining our web design process and how we did it. In that video, I sort of outlined a marketing plan, and that video took off. Before I even knew it, Todd, I had like 3,000 subscribers,
Wow.
before I even knew it, because I wasn't checking in. I wasn't trying to grow a channel. And so I sort of woke up one day and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got a phone call. A guy said, hey, I saw your video on YouTube. Will you build my website for me? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Then I got another call, and I started noting, I'm getting calls. What is this video? I went back to my YouTube channel. I checked it out. And what I did was I made 10 more videos just like it. And those had the same success. So that was really my start as a YouTuber. I struggled through it. I was never a regular content creator. I was always kind of like, oh, I'll do 10 videos this year. And I would film them and I would put them up. And I just kind of let them ride. And it wasn't until about 2 years ago that I started taking it a little bit more seriously. I went to Vid Summit. I had a chance to meet some of the major creators out there, and I thought, this is what I want to do with my life. And so ever since then, I've been walking the path and just trying to break through in new and exciting ways.
Well, and you've made YouTube a very concentrated study, and it's really a big part of your business, if not everything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is it just a full-time job, just YouTube, or are you exploring other things as well? I mean, it just seems like YouTube.
Yeah, I'm a multi-channel content creator. So YouTube has, this, it's been a rock. It's been a cornerstone for my career. But really at the core, what Video Spot is we're an online marketing agency, and we run ads, and we help small business owners to grow their business. We offer done with you and done for you services. And video is a big part of that. No one's ever going to come into my company. No client is ever going to come in and we're not going to do video for them. Like, right. Video is primary. It's where the internet is going. I mean, look at Facebook. Facebook is not just videos and video ads. It's also GIFs, which are videos. It's also, if you type congrats or XO into a comment, and what happens? Well, a short video pops up, and sort of, you go and you look at one of your posts and all the comments. What do you see? You see the smiley faces, video across the screen. We're seeing moving pictures everywhere. So that's going to be a big part of what we do. And we believe in making content for the platforms where your customers exist. So we're live streaming on YouTube, for example. We take that live stream just as you do, and we edit that into an audio podcast for iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, right? We take the highlights of that video, we post it on YouTube. So we're creating content for all sorts of multimedia platforms. And a big part of what we've been doing this year is teaching how to use YouTube from a business perspective. So it's not just to get popular, not just to get famous,
right? Which
I think is what 90% of YouTubers out there are trying to do, and that's cool. What we're doing is we're taking the dentist, the doctor, the lawyer, we're taking the gym owner and the financial services provider, and we're saying, look, if you want to launch your business on YouTube, you have to educate and entertain. And here's a good way to do that so that people are calling your business and offering, wanting to do business with you. And that's a big part of what we do.
So, that's an interesting thing, because I talk to live streamers who want to offer services to people, whether it's setting up their studio or helping them figure out their shtick,
right.
Giving them the confidence to get online and finally do it. And, me being one of them, and this is a conversation I have a lot with other people, and it seems to be a theme within the community, but, when we go live, a lot of the times the people watching our content are other live streamers. So you're reaching out. Yeah. You're reaching out to lawyers and dentists and doctors. And so how are you getting these people if your content is about how to do this stuff? And a lot of these people just aren't looking for it. Like, how are you making yourself aware to these people that you exist and you can do this for them?
Oh, Matt, it's an amazing question. And the answer is two words, man. Video ads.
Okay.
That's it. You know, I have a video library that you will never see, not because I don't like you, but because they're unlisted videos on my YouTube channel, and we only run them to targeted demographics. You know, we have ads that I've created for YouTube that are specifically for restaurant owners. They're specifically for business coaches, you know, and we run those as ads that go to our general website properties at thevideospot.net, and you can see our services from there, and you can hire me as a coach. You can buy some of my pre-recorded trainings, or what's more popular is doing more like the one-on-one kind of business consulting. But
sure.
You know, video ads is an underrated, underused part of the marketplace, right? We're all sort of looking to teach skill sets, but there's so much value, and grow organically, right? Because you need to. There's kind of like this. Well, how much money am I going to have to pay? But you know, for $50 a week, right? You could be targeting one specific niche. Maybe it's plastic surgeons. So even like, as I want to target doctors, what kind of doctors? Podiatrists, doctors of chiropractic, plastic surgeons, right? Who are you targeting? And make 4 or 5 videos for them. I'm not saying, turn your whole niche over to them. Make 4 or 5 videos for them. Make an entry-level product for them, so that they come into your company, and then bring them on to your general products and services. And that's how you build a business using video.
I am blown away by the idea of putting unlisted videos on there and, targeting those in ads. I mean, it's absolutely brilliant. And I haven't heard that before. And I'm pretty well, I watch and read, and I just have not heard that. And that's just an amazing thing. I hope that people that watch this content that we're talking, that we're creating today, really pick up on that, because that is an absolutely amazing way to grow your business. And not that it'll happen overnight, but wow. I mean, when you're trying to get past that, how do I reach people in other industries that aren't typically, checking out what I'm doing, whatever it is you're doing, whatever service you're offering. I mean, you could be an accountant, and you could be creating these unlisted targeted videos to, if you like to do accounting for, say, restaurants or attorneys or whatever. That's a tip that really any industry you're in, you could be doing right now.
Yes. And
helping you out big time.
Yes. Yes. And they say that YouTube is where you go to find a video, but Facebook is where a video finds you. And you've got to be in a place, if you're a business person, if you're targeting, if you're a gym owner, okay, and you're targeting fat people, you are in the wrong business, my friend, right? Restaurant owners should be targeting the overweight and the obese, okay? And that's not a knock on the overweight and obese, okay? Right. I'm a freedom-loving American. You want to do your thing, let me do mine. My thing is this, is that target your market. Fit people enroll into gyms and personal training. So target fit people. How do you find them? Well, on YouTube, you make videos that fit people would be searching for. How to make green smoothies, how to make a fat-free chicken, how to decrease your mile time. In fact, one of my clients just reached out to me the other day, and he says, hey, it's been a while since we talked, but I want you to know I've been running the Facebook ads program, and I just closed $3,000 in new revenue, right? What is that program? Making ads for his demographic. So on YouTube, you're making ads that they're going to search for, and they're going to go online and look for. On Facebook, you're making an ad that kind of says, hey, stop, look. If you're fit and want to cut 2 minutes off your 5K, you should call me. You should look at my Oxygen program, right? Or if you're a lawyer, lawyers are big time. You're like, hey, you want to get free legal advice? Log into my show, right? Because we only really think about lawyers when we're in trouble, right? When it's already kind of too late. So as lawyers, you want to just be top of mind to people and be in a place where you're constantly engaging them. So they're not going to be searching for things like, how to, they will to a certain extent, like how to get out of a traffic ticket or how to fight a DUI, right? Highly competitive. Instead, be marketing to them through live video on Facebook. Do a live show and then boost it. and get it in front of them so that when they do need a service or their friend needs a service, they're like, oh, you got to call the guy over at the lawyer show. He's live on Facebook every Friday. It's all about thinking about your customer and making content for them as opposed to content that you want to do because you think it's cool. We call that push content, where you're pushing it in front of them, and there's a place for that. But you want to be focusing on pull content that pulls them in and makes them a part of your tribe.
Absolutely. Well said. And I completely agree. It's a lot of that's new to me, but it all makes sense. Tell me this, you do Facebook advertising and YouTube advertising. Where do you have your best success?
Well, it depends on what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
What we're trying to do, right? Our YouTube content, when we're teaching YouTube, we do way better on YouTube, right? So I have a YouTube ad running right now. The conversion rate is through the roof. It's upwards in the 60% on the landing page.
Wow.
Because we're teaching YouTube to people that are on YouTube. So there's an incredible relevancy there, right? Now, on the flip side, on Facebook, that's a great place for products and services. That's a great place for general opt-ins, but our landing page conversion is not as strong there. Why? Well, because number one, the landing page system we use takes about 6 seconds to load. 6 seconds. In internet time, that's the death of a salesman, right? So there, it's a different marketplace with different people. Facebook is full of scrollers, right? On Facebook, we're scrolling, right? We're kind of like, that got my attention. Let me click on that. It's taking too long. I'm off. YouTube is kind of like, I'm gonna hang out here, watch some videos for a little bit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And there's more of a, I'll check that out, and that sort of thing. So knowing who your audience is and knowing what their platform is will help you to develop a message that reaches them where they're at. On Facebook is a great place to sort of get them interested in who you are, but then using YouTube or the Google Display Network to convert them into a sale or into a lead is you have a much higher probability of doing that.
That's awesome. Now, do you use Instagram as well? I know they've got a pretty robust, and I've seen a lot of the big names coming through on the sponsored ads on Instagram. Are you doing that as well?
We're adding Instagram into our placements, and we're sort of looking at it and testing it. As of right now, I don't see it as a huge place for us as a business. Our clients are on Facebook and on YouTube.
Right.
They're on Instagram, but they're not necessarily in the framework that we want them in. We're there, so we're not. The short answer is no, we're not using it. But with Facebook ads, when you set up a Facebook ad, okay, it automatically boosts it onto Instagram unless you tell it not to, or if the video is over a minute, you can't even send it to Instagram. So I want to use it. I use Instagram organically, as you know. You reviewed my my channel, my Instagram channel the other day. You did a great job of actually taking a lot of what you said to heart, and we've been thinking about how we can implement those things better. Instagram stories, I think, is fantastic. So there's a lot of organic opportunity on Instagram. I love it. I love the platform, and I can't wait to see the future of Instagram as it relates to us as a business tool.
Yeah, it is interesting, but it does have its limitations, and the way people scroll through it is completely different than the other two platforms. So I can see it being kind of a tricky one when you're trying to put your money places and you're getting the kind of results that you're getting that you've told us about on YouTube and Facebook. I mean, how do you bring Instagram in too? I mean, if it's one of those things that I guess you just kind of test it until you start seeing a spark.
Yeah, I think you got to find out what works because, Instagram is largely like the escape from Facebook, right? We're tired of the news. We're tired of the negativity. We're getting that other places, right? We're getting that in other places, the news and the negativity.
Right.
But we go to Instagram because it's only pictures. It's less opinion. It's less texty, right? So are we going there to engage with the brands we love? Yeah. But are we going there to buy from them? I don't think so.
No.
So, it's kind of like, what is it we're trying to do? I think it's a great place for growing an Instagram channel. Again, that's just my thoughts. I don't know. And how do you create an image or a video that really says, you know, look at me? I mean, you're in a sea of cool images and video. The best photographers, the best videographers are uploading their stuff to Instagram. So I think you got to bring your A game, and I think you really got to speak to people in a way that they will respond to.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, going back to YouTube for a quick moment,
Yeah.
which really is the focus of the show, so probably longer than a moment. But who on YouTube do you look to for inspiration, guidance? You look and you're like, wow, look at what he's doing. You know, I've got to find a way to kind of bring that kind of a routine or a trick or graphics or whatever into my video. I mean, who out there just dazzles you on a day-to-day basis?
Great question. So first and foremost, I want to give a shout out to Nick Nimmin over at nicknimmin.com. He is my favorite YouTuber. And I've watched him grow from like 4,000 subscribers to, I think now he's at 55,000 subscribers. He's surpassed even my channel, and he does all YouTube educational content. He teaches creators how to use YouTube. Now, a lot of this stuff a business owner can use, but I think largely he's more about working with a general creator, niche channels, hobby channels, that sort of thing. Amazing stuff. His set looks great. His delivery is great. His lighting is great. I mean, the guy is a professional broadcaster, and I don't even know that he knows it. He's also my co-host on the Business of Video podcast, and you can check that out at the website of the same name or on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. The guy blows my mind. I learn tons from him every day. Also, Jeff Durbin over at Apologia Studios, and he is a church, believe it or not. Jeff is an apologist. And he often does topics relating to church-related topics. What I like about his show is that he's combined a couple different ways of promoting his content, right? So he does sort of this live man-on-the-street conversations with real people in the street. And he's sort of he'll ask them, what are your biggest challenges to Christianity? You know, and then he rebuts them. He'll say, well, what you just said was inaccurate. Let me share, you know, and he does this whole thing, and he does it in a loving and a kind way. There's no argumentation. I love that about his show. He's releasing a new talk show. It's a talk show that's like a Conan O'Brien, but it's about church stuff. It is so fun. And what he's showing us how to do for churches, but also I think for lawyers, and for people that have boring content, right? Content that we sort of yawn at. Right. He's showing us how to do it. So imagine being an attorney and going out on the street and saying something like, hey, do you think it's against the law to call someone the N-word in public? Right? Right. I mean, how inflammatory is that? Absolutely. Especially with recent activities, you know, that would do phenomenally well on YouTube. But when you do it in in a loving way, whereas you're not trying to make fun of anybody, you're trying to educate people. Look, it's actually not illegal to say these things. And maybe it is, I don't know. But you know, maybe it should be. And have you thought about what's really legal and what's not? Well, tune in next week. We're going to be talking about some new things. So I think those two creators are the big ones in my mind as far as who's doing it correctly. And there's a lot of great shows out there. I recommend for all of you guys, go find the top. If you build cabinets, I guarantee you there's a cabinet maker. Right. I know for a fact there's multiple of them. If you are a dentist, go find dentists on YouTube. The biggest problem with dentists is they're always making sales content. It's always like, hey, you know, come to me for great dental work. It's like, hey, how about you educate me on what a cavity is? The 7 ways to get rid of a cavity organically or naturally, right? Yeah. Because it takes like 7 years to get rid of a cavity naturally. Or you just come into me and I'll get it filled right now. You know, there's lots of content you could be doing if you look at what's popular on YouTube and follow those models. So those two shows are big ones for me. Well, I just learned another something that it takes 7 years to get rid of. I thought once you had a cavity, it was just there until they gutted it and filled it. Right. Right. No, I learned from I learned from my chiropractor who I built his YouTube channel. Okay. You know, that the cavities can go away naturally. It just takes a whole lot of time. And so imagine it's like, well, for 7 years of pain, is it worth it? You know, pay the $150, the copay, go get it filled.
Right.
You know what I mean? So there's a lot of opportunity there for education, especially for experts like you and I. You know things about live streaming that I don't know.
Well,
you're an expert in this
I don't know
field.
about that. I'd like to think so. I mean, boy, that would be a real feather in my cap. Because
I'll tell you, the fact that your whole setup, your whole loop that we talked about, I mean, that's all. I knew it existed, kind of like Loch Ness Monster, but I never really seen it. You know what I mean? So,
dude, I'll tell you, it's been a 2-year journey for me, and I'm a recovering attorney, and I never dreamt in a million years that I would be doing this. But there's a lot of things that I'm doing that I never dreamt I would be doing. And it sounds like your background, you checkered employment history in the corporate world. Well, my background, I've been an entrepreneur all my life, but I've also worked the day job.
Right.
And I had a checkered day job history. I just couldn't stand it either. I'm just not cut from the cloth of the people that do that and can swallow it and do it 7 days a week or 5 days a week.
For 40 years. And I applaud those who can.
Absolutely. Well, it's a lonely existence when you can't do that. You're kind of the outcast, right? I mean, you go to cocktail parties and everyone's whining about their day job and you don't have anything to talk about,
Yeah. And you're like in slippers. You know what I mean? I totally get that. It's lonely. We thrive online. And something not a lot of people know about me is that, I went to college to pursue law, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
There was a couple. I went back to school for film. That's what I lost a job. I said, I'm going to go learn film. I've always had a video camera in my hand. I got into the film department. I'm like, oh, I do not want to be a broke filmmaker like these guys. Like, that is not my interest. So I very interested in the law and argumentation. So I started taking my, the LSATs?
Right.
Started prepping for the LSATs. I was crushing the LSAT, pre-quiz and whatnot. My goal was to become like a TV attorney, like the guy that CNN and Fox call in to evaluate. And so I wanted to get good on camera. And as I started pursuing that, I found that speaking on camera was really my passion.
Right.
And that I just kind of forgot to enroll, in law after I got my degree. I forgot to go to law school. So I just kept on working with the camera. And by that time, I was already building websites. I was already paying for school. I graduated school with no debt. Video paid for all of that, and website design paid for all of that. So I thought, well, why don't I just turn this into a business? And we never looked back. That's
awesome. I mean, it's just so much nicer when you can do things for yourself and when things kind of happen organically because they happen and there's no real rhyme or reason, and lots of good and lots of bad experiences kind of add up and here you are, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to kind of do a little shout out. We had a few people comment or show up. We have Coach Jenny. She's been a guest on my live video live show that airs 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, where we talk about, it's live streamers talking about pretty much nothing or something or whatever just happens.
Sounds like the Seinfeld for live streamers.
Well, it kind of is. And I don't even tell who the guest is going to be ahead of time. So you kind of got to tune in to see. And I don't know how that will work in the long run. But so far it's doing pretty well. We also have Brad Friedman. Brad, I think, is a mutual friend of ours. He's an attorney from Denver, but he's a recovering attorney, such as myself. He agreed with you that Nick Nimmin is awesome.
Yeah.
And I actually had Brad on the live video live last night, and we had a great time. And he's been jumping through some live video hurdles too, trying to up his game. And that's the thing in our space with the live video. You mentioned my loop, and we mentioned before the show that Ross got his capture card. Ross Brand, folks, for those who don't know, he got his capture card and his camcorder. Brad, he just got some other equipment for his audio. We're always pushing, and that's one of the fun things I have in this community is who's doing what and why. And the tips, I mean, you mentioned that you got on with Ross Brand and you guys were testing some equipment. I do the same thing with Ross. I mean, we're all kind of in this together, growing, in different ways, but what a fun thing that we're all involved in here with the live video.
It's a blessing too, because it was never available it wasn't available to our parents, right? And I talk about this a lot in my keynotes, is that our parents did not have the ability to work from home in this way. I'm wearing my basketball shorts. I'm wearing my comfy shirt. Now, it's a nice shirt, don't get me wrong, but I got to choose right? My wife, you know, she had a whole closet full of clothes. My wife has been a teacher in the high school system for 12 years in California. And this is her first year, right? School started last week, but she didn't go because she has left that job to build this company with me and to build the revenue with us, leaving behind an $80,000 a year job. This was not possible under our parents, you know, because the technology didn't exist.
Right.
We have it, and if you're inspired to use it, like Coach Jenny, like Todd.LIVE, like Ross Brand, then I believe that we have an obligation to learn it, to hone it out, not just for our children, but for posterity. You know, there's something to be said about, you know, being a pioneer and pushing through and saying, I built a business on YouTube. Yeah, like other YouTubers have built much stronger businesses than I have. Devin Supertramp, what are they called? The Shaytards. I mean, they're multi-millionaires. Don't get me wrong, but not everyone's going to be a celebrity, right? Some of us are interested in just earning a living,
sure,
and not having to go to work. And I've been able to do that along with my colleagues like yourself and others. And we have an obligation to share that with the up and coming generation so that they can push it even farther.
Absolutely.
You know, and there may be a time where, I mean, and I think that we're coming across that where our children, like my children, are learning that you don't need to go to school, although we do promote that. We're big education. And both my wife and I have degrees.
Right.
But we let them know, like, if that's not your thing, you can start blogging now, you know, and you can start videoing now, and then you have full control over what you want to do when you hit 18. And that has never, no one's been ever, except for the wealthy, no one's ever been able to say that to their kids before. So we're excited about being a part of that generation.
Yeah, it is awesome. I mean, you and I don't know how old you are. I'm 46. I turned 47 here in a couple months, but we've had the benefit. Yeah, there we go. We've had the benefit of, and I don't know if it's the benefit's the right word, because I certainly would have loved to have grown up in this age right now, but with all that they have offered to them and at their fingertips, but I would have done a lot of things different. But we have the benefit of having the pre-internet life and education and frame of mind and the post-internet.
Yes, I agree with you.
I mean, there, like 1996, 1995 was pivotal in everything that, you know, I mean, how the world even is. It's one of the most remarkable things that has ever happened to mankind is roughly 94 to 96 when AOL started sending discs out everywhere and getting everyone online.
1997 was huge, man. Microsoft Word entered my school. I was a senior, didn't know how to use it. I think there's huge advantage. My age, I'm 37, so I overlap with some of the older millennials, but I'm not sure that I connect all the time to the millennials. I grew up under Reagan, right? My parents were thriving under Reagan, right? We were kind of a poor household, working class, but there was optimism and joy in the house. There was this thought of, we can do it. We can do whatever we want, right? And I grew up with that optimism. I think that a lot of the generation today is growing up with like less of an understanding of freedom. And I'm not trying to get political. I'm trying to get more like looking at the worldview of these kids. So they have all these freedoms and they're choosing in a lot of cases to surrender them. Right. And that's something that I cannot relate to, you know, kind of this, it's almost like going back to our parents' generation, right? Our parents' generation is like, well, I can't work for myself. I have to support a family. I have to do these things. I see the generation today as kind of like having that same mindset. Well, I have to kind of go to college because everyone's telling me to. I didn't grow up under that. I was like, you can do whatever you want to do.
Right.
You know, with the world's at your fingertips. And so I think the kids today are under sort of these like political motivations and ambitions of the ruling class that I didn't grow up with. And so they're limiting their mindset. Yes, they have all this technology, but they're using it to post pictures of themselves getting dressed in the morning and nude selfies. Like, you realize you could be feeding families with this technology? Do you realize you could be like my friend over, he's more our age, but Alex over at Everything Tesla. I mean, he is very committed to the green movement, and he uses technology to pursue that passion. And if I had a message to the younger people, it was like, hey, stop worrying about what everyone says you should do to be accepted by the masses. Focus on your passion. right? And
Yeah.
move forward with that.
Yeah, I agree with you completely, and not to get too much into the whole college thing. I have two kids. I have 13 and 8, and I've got my education, and I love that I have my education. But
Me too.
I got my education before the internet, and if I was growing up now, I probably would skip out on college. I would just I would find ways to rock it on the internet, and it ain't going to happen overnight. But you know, you can turn on a dime and try new things and meet new people and discover yourself and discover all sorts of interesting things that the world has to offer. Or you could go to college and focus on an accounting degree, thinking that you're going to really like that when you finally get that degree finished with,
and then maybe get a job. Maybe get a job, right?
Well, yeah,
maybe get a job.
And you know, like your background with 22 jobs and this, like, you know, the girl that cuts my hair, she and her husband are total entrepreneurs. She's had her own business. She runs the place and rents out the chairs, and he does drones and websites. And I mean, he's
cool.
you know, he does videos for, you know, car dealerships, and, you know, where they go out to the desert and take a car, and he's got his big drone that's as big as a car that has these giant lenses on it. He's flying this thing around, and she's talking about putting her kid in college. And I'm like, really? With what you guys are doing, why don't you teach your kids to do what you're doing? You know, you know, you all are onto something. You're living this fantastic life. You've got fun and freedom, and, you know, you're not strapped to this one thing. And how many people, you know, that have a degree that aren't using it anymore? I know I'm one of them, you know.
Yeah, you know, and I'm very fortunate to be using my degree every day. I majored in media studies. I went into television, but I didn't get a job in those fields, right? It's too competitive, and I didn't want to be broke, so I created a job. You know, if you want to go to school for accounting, right on, go do it. But here's the thing: while you're in school, create your accounting business.
Right.
Right. You're building your business plan. You're creating your website. You're developing your packages. You're developing your customer avatar, so that when you graduate, you've already got a waiting list of 15 people that are willing to hire you at 20% below the average because you're brand new and you've never had a customer before. So you're giving discounts. You know, this is a big problem I see with entrepreneurs today. They say, well, because I develop websites, so it's $20,000. It's like, hey, bro, you've never developed websites for customers before.
Right.
Right. You know, you don't get to just walk into the industry. You've got to price yourself below. I'm actually working with a website designer right now. He's a client. He's hired me to help him grow his business. And he struggled with it. Like, well, why do I have to put my prices down below? I said, because you don't know how to manage customers yet. You've got to work on how to do this thing as a business and then build your income up with customer testimonials, right? These are things, I mean, you're going to use college as a tool if college is your thing, right? Or if your parents, I think for some people, your parents are going to make you go to college.
Yep. Like
you, I disagree with it. Our goal is that our kids are developing blogs starting in middle school, right? So we don't have any middle school age kids yet. Our oldest is almost there. It's a requirement for us in our home, just like cleaning the bathroom or sweeping the floors. You've got to start a website. Right. Doesn't matter if you want to or not. This is a skill you need to learn. My oldest goes to a Minecraft camp every single year.
Nice.
And he's learning, computer coding through this, right? So these are skill sets you want to give your kids tools, right? As opposed to pathways. Right. Give them the tools so that when they are looking at those pathways, they can go wherever they want to go. And if one of them is, hey, I want to go to I have a lot of friends that want to go to Africa and serve as missionaries over there, but they're able to build entrepreneurial businesses here to support that.
Right.
Like I could think of nothing more noble.
Absolutely.
Than giving up your comfortable life here to go serve other people. So there's so much available at our fingertips.
Hey, I want to pivot just a little bit, just to ask you about your business. Yeah. Okay. Do you have a whole team? Because, I've wondered this often because you are everywhere. Your content is spectacular. I know this takes time. I know that I know that your wife works with you, but I mean, do you have a team behind the personality Owen.Video?
I work with some contractors, and I work with a couple very consistently. My editor, Ignacio, over at Puerto C Films, he edits almost everything for me. My show producer, Melissa Rotuno, she edits the podcast and gets the podcast set up. I've got my wife who is, brand new to the business, really. I've been building this company with her for 5 years. We've been married for 8. I went to college for 2 and then was kind of like, getting fired for another year. And then we started building the company. I'm just realizing now she didn't know what I do. I'll say things like, well, go tell that client that we'll reschedule for Wednesday. And she's like, well, what time Wednesday? And I'm like, duh, the same time every Wednesday. And she's like, I don't know. And I don't realize she didn't know. You know what I mean? So she's brand new. But working with people who want a job is a real challenge for me in the entrepreneurial space, because I don't have consistent work for you.
Right.
I don't have like, and I do, but it's not like in the same way. You know, it's kind of like, hey, it's not, you know, put, you know, assembly line widgets, you know, that's what you're going to do all day long. It's the opposite. It's like, hey, here's 5 videos for this client. Here's 7 videos for that client. Get them done. And, oh, make them look good. You know, and then it's kind of like, well, how do you want me to make them look good? And what do you want me to do? And it's like, hey, bro, that's why I hired you.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think that I'm learning how to work with a team, and I'm constantly learning how to work with, especially millennials. Millennials, I don't mean to knock them, but they're a challenge to work with. You know, the second a millennial is bored, yawns, he quits. And it's kind of like, you're just going to float through life that way, bro. Like, you're not always going to be happy with the work you do, you know?
Right.
So there's a challenge there. How do you keep these guys motivated? And I don't just look at them and say, hey, it's their fault. I look at myself and say, okay, well, this is the new marketplace of employees. How do I keep them motivated, excited, and engaged in their work, you know? So I do have a small team that I'm always working with. And then a level back, I have sort of this wide sphere of my go-tos, right? I can call this guy for animation work. I can call this guy for uploading and optimization. Largely, these are other professionals in the field that are trying to get a step up. For those of you guys that don't know, one of my best editors was Nick Nimmin. Nick Nimmin was making my digital graphics. He was making all my stuff look better and building a YouTube channel on the side. And so, you know, it's funny. He hit 50,000 subscribers, you know, a couple weeks ago, and I just wrote him a personal letter, and I was just telling him how much, you know, I've appreciated him and watching him grow, and how much I learned from him. And he wrote me back. He's very sweet. He wrote me back and he says, dude, you gave me a chance when I was a nobody. You gave me income. You gave me, you know, jobs to do, and that helped me build to where I am today. He's like, so you're thanking me, but I'm thanking you. He's because of you, I've been able, it's part of being able to hit my 50,000 subs. So it's been a great experience working with the team. I definitely am looking to work with people and get more done, because like you said, Todd, man, I'm doing a ton right now. Yeah. And believe it or not, I spend a ton of time with my kids. I exercise. I go to church. You know, I'm not sacrificing things, but I feel like I could get more done. Right. And I could increase the production value of my work. You know, you say I have great stuff. I'm looking at my stuff and I see 8 things I want to change.
Well, that's the nature of what we're doing. I mean, I look at my studio and I think, man, I've got a long way to go. And other people look at my studio and they say, wow, look where he got, you know, and it's just, you know, you're always going to look at your own work that way. And if you quit doing that, you may as well pack it up. Quite honestly.
I agree. Yeah. The moment you stop growing, you start dying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's awesome that you've done what you've done with, and the way you've gone about doing it. I imagine that most of the people that you work with, it's word of mouth. You've seen their content, you reach out, or you get referrals. I think that the fact that you've had Nick in the background, but you know, as he was growing, I mean, how fortunate you were to work with somebody so awesome, and you continue to be. And you know, let's dip into the business of video, your broadcast, which is a live streaming video series with a podcast inside it. You record it for the podcast, right?
Yeah.
And he's your co-host, and you have amazing guests come on. You use BeLive. And I didn't know you used BeLive until today. Actually, I was going to kind of ask you about how you do some of the things that you do, because I got to figure this out within Wirecast and the stuff that I'm using. But it looks fantastic.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about doing you know, your production with a co-host. You know, how did you get into doing that? Obviously, we can kind of deduce that since you were already working with him anyway, and it just
but it was hard for me because I've been a one-man show, and some people would say that I'm hard to work with. I have high standards, and I demand the same accountability I would give myself. So, you know, I really struggle, Todd, when work is late. When work is late, or a person shows up late, or you reschedule with me last minute. Now, things happen. Don't get me wrong. Things happen. I'm not heartless. But, you know, we went out to dinner with friends. We had this thing lined up, and I even called him and I said, hey, I'm looking forward to dinner on Saturday. And he goes, oh, are we doing dinner? Oh, I got to check with my wife. He's a guy, locally guy, and good friend and whatnot. But I was kind of like, it's not in your calendar, like, and then, so I said no to a dinner party over in San Diego with some big time people. I was like, no, we've got dinner with friends, right? We get a call from them. And it's like, hey, well, we're thinking about doing something different. We got this other thing that we want to do. And so maybe we'll just like have dinner with you guys quickly, and then we'll head off to this thing we want to do more. And I tell you, man, it took a lot in me to forgive that and let that go. When an editor, now taking that into, that's a little bit of my personality, like I'm committed to you and I expect the same commitment to myself. So when I give you a job as an editor, I'm committed to treating you right, paying you on time. Right.
Right.
And here's one thing I've learned about editors is that they're committed to taking the paycheck on time. But when the work is late, they still want the paycheck on time. When the work is subpar, they still want the paycheck on time. And I really struggle with that. So that wasn't your question, but I can be tough to work with because I demand standards, right? I have standards. Working on a live stream show, I had big standards for the show. And I've been trying to get this show off the ground for about 2 years because my standard was way up here. By bringing in a co-host, I had 2 things done. Number one is I could have Nick help me with the visual representation of the show. Number 2, and I know it would be good quality. Number 2, I could allow myself to step back and say, hey, whatever happens, happens. Because I can't it's accountability, right? It's like I got a co-host now, so he's partially responsible. And if it doesn't go terribly well, hey, he's a co-host. He's not a subordinate. He's not a superior. He's a co-owner with me, right? So that's kind of why we brought in a co-host. Now, I thought about who would be a good co-host, and I wanted to find somebody who was on their way up. So Nick Niman was a natural choice, and we've got a great relationship. We're good friends. We respect each other, and I'm really excited about the show. We're symbiotic. So finding a good partner that will mellow out your bad habits and that will fill in for you where you're weak, that's how you find a good partner to work with. And with Nick, we're real fortunate.
Well, you guys have an outstanding show, and the relationship between you and Nick, you really couldn't script it any better. I mean, you bring this amazing energy into the show, and he kind of balances it out with his style. Yeah. And you bring on good guests, and I mean, it just works beautifully. And then and I don't use BeLive. I like BeLive. I wish I could be using it, but I just want to be more places than one. But I really like the things that they offer, and the things that they offer, you guys are taking advantage of how you switch the screenshots and the way it jumbles things around. And sometimes one person's in the bigger screen, and I guess Nick is doing the switching on that. I assume, based on what you said.
That's all me.
Oh, that's all you. Okay. But it's just done to perfection, and it's just an outstanding show. And anybody who's interested in checking it out, the business of video, like we've already mentioned a couple times, it's on iTunes. But I think if you want the visual aspect of it, and I really look, I got a question for you about that too in a moment. But yeah, I really enjoy your show. Most shows that I watch, I don't watch. I turn them on and I put it in a tab in the background while I'm working, or I put my earbuds on, I lay on the couch and close my eyes and I listen. Yeah, because I don't my broadcast right now is just 2 talking heads, right? We're side by side, we're chatting, and that's what most of them are. And you don't necessarily have to see it. But for some reason, the way you guys do your show, I feel like I need to see it.
That's awesome.
And I think it's a combination of things. I think it's a combination of how you do your switching. And quite honestly, and not to be, put myself in fanboy territory here, but I love the way you're so animated in your show. Yeah. And you've done it in this show. You get your phone out and, you play a character for a moment as you're playing with your phone. You just bring a level of entertainment to the visual that most of us, and I know I don't. Hell, I'm drier than... I'm like a tree that's been laying in the sun for a few years,
Not at all. You got to give yourself more credit, but you bring up some good points, and part of this goes back to my background in television, and I learned how to switch there. And I think that switching is one of my strengths, right? It's like if I'm bored with what's on screen, then the audience is probably more bored. So I want to make sure that we're switching it up, we're changing it, and that's why it's taken me 2 years to get this show off the ground, because the technology that simply didn't exist when I had the idea for a live streaming show, right? I've wanted to live stream a show and podcast it forever, but the technology that I want to do didn't exist. BeLive has made that possible. And so we love BeLive, and I'm working very closely with them on some new projects that I'm excited to announce in the upcoming weeks here.
Nice.
You know, you've got to be who you want to watch, and I believe that entirely. You've got to be who you want to watch, and I want to watch someone who's entertained, someone who's high energy. And I'll tell you what, man, I bring the rain, right? It's from that show, The Rainmaker. It's an old play. And it's always, as a kid, I hated it. As a high schooler, I loved it. It's like, I want to be a rainmaker. I want to be somebody who brings the rain with me so that there's always a party. And I teach my kids, because my kids have a lot of that in them. And I teach them, look, you can have fun without being a fool, right? Don't be the kid everyone's making fun of. You know, my one son, he I forget what he was doing in class. He's like eating a Band-Aid. And I said, why were you eating the Band-Aid, man? Because we're like concerned about like a vitamin deficiency or something, right? And he goes, well, all the kids were laughing. And I said, okay, all right, you want to entertain, but don't be the clown.
Right.
You can have fun, don't be the fool, right? So I don't want to kind of be this guy who's like swearing up a storm. It's just not me. I'm not like anti-swearing. I don't prefer it, but I'm not anti-swearing. I don't want to be the guy that's like shocking you. Doing disgusting content to just get a rise out of people. I want to be clever. I want to be fun. I want to be me. And I want people to go, like, that was an adventure. But Todd, I promise you this, as soon as the cameras go off, I'm drinking tea and I'm relaxing, right? Because, first of all, the human body needs rest. Sure. I believe in that. I'm not like this 24/7. But the next time I'm around a group or the next time I'm live, I want to give them that same experience. I want them, while people are watching me, to go, man, I enjoyed that. Like my crappy life, my wife's divorcing me, I'm an alcoholic or whatever. Like, everyone's got their problems. But when they're watching me, I want them to be in a place where they enjoyed their life. And it was a good hour. It was a good 10 minutes. And so that's something I'm very serious about. I'm passionate about it. I take comedy classes. I'm not a comedian, but I want to be smarter. I want to be more entertaining, and I want people to enjoy their time and their life when they're with me.
Nice. Take comedy classes. So this is like improv kind of stuff?
No, I'm actually taking an online class at masterclass.com with Steve Martin.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
So
awesome.
I've talked about it online a couple times. I love it. I read, like, I read Martin Short's autobiography. I watch a lot of comedy, and I watch a lot of family-friendly comedy, like Michael Jr., Jim Gaffigan, Brian Regan, because I want to be – it's like I want to copy their material. But I just posted something on Twitter today, right? It was my wife has me on this new diet where I'm only allowed to eat foods that won't kill me. And, got a great got a great response to it on Facebook, so I want to put it on Twitter. I'm learning how to phrase things in a humorous way. And so I want to get better at that so that people can rely on having a good time. You know, I'm sure you've been on the air where you've got time to fill, but you're not sure you have much to say.
Oh, yeah.
I want to just get better every single day.
Well, it's tricky. I mean, I can't tell you how many broadcasts I've gotten into where I'm at the 20-minute mark and I'm thinking, I've already kind of covered all the points I want to cover. And what I find so interesting is, and it's just been natural with you, and I'll be honest with you, most guests, I find that because I don't over prepare. I don't have a big laundry list of things.
I'm right there with you.
You know, I might have 5 or 7 things that I could ask you about that I think are going to fill an hour, and a lot of the times it fills 15 minutes.
Right.
But you know, I think the trick is listening. And mining the things that your guest says so that you can take interesting things things that you hadn't thought of necessarily and taken place. In fact, this, you know, I titled this topic today, how to achieve YouTube success. We really haven't addressed that because we started getting into some other things about you that I didn't know, that I hadn't picked up in some of your broadcasts and the things that I've seen about you. And, you know, I found it more interesting to go down that road.
Yeah.
And I was going to close it out with, you know, what are like the top 3 things to, you know, that if you were starting out on YouTube, what we would run with. But, you know, we haven't talked about YouTube. I don't even really want to go down that. I'd rather
we're welcome to as well. And I think on that note, you know, here's the thing is that if you listen back to this show for what we did versus what we said, right, you'll find how I've had success on YouTube. Number one, like working with people that complement you. Where you're weak, come out, you know, bring on people that are better than you. If you're not great on camera, then create a YouTube interview show. And you're bringing on people. You know, if you're a doctor or a lawyer, bring on your customers and just ask them the same 5 questions. What was your legal need? What was your experience with me? And, you know, what did you learn from the experience? You know, things like that. Like if you're weak, find other people that are strong in those areas. I think the other thing is you have to entertain. Like you have to have a reason that people tune in, right? Maybe it's your personality, like me. Like for me, I think a lot of people tune in to see what's Owen up to today. Maybe your personality is not your thing. Maybe instead it's the content. Maybe you're gonna just go through really great in-depth material on the law. Then do that, right? If you're a fitness trainer and you're kind of dull, go into terms. What is bioimmunity, right? What is a nutraceutical, right? And just define it. Hey, everybody, I'm super boring personal trainer, and today we're going to talk about nutraceuticals. People will do as you say. They will put it on in the background, and they will listen, and you will get the view, and you will get more views because you got one view. I think another thing is, like you just said, is like play it by ear. If you're building a YouTube channel according to this goal that you put in your mind, and your audience starts moving you in a different direction, hey, be open to that. You know, don't tell your audience where you're going to take them unless they give you that permission. You know, this is the internet is a real synergistic, symbiotic place, right? And we want to move with the audience. You know, we look at our shows and we look at what the top shows were. We did a show on Snapchat, and as much as I love the guest and respect the guest, the show didn't do well. I think the show itself was great. I think my audience was saying, we're not that interested in Snapchat. So we're going to go with them. We're not going to say, all right, this show did bad, but you guys need to learn Snapchat. So we're going to do 8 more Snapchat episodes. No way. We're like, hey, didn't resonate. Let's kind of put that off to the side, see what did resonate. Let's do more of that, you know? And that is how you have success on YouTube. Bringing it all back to the beginning of the show. I wrote it down. Make video for your customers, not for the YouTubers, not for the live streamers, not for your boss, and not for your wife, and not for yourself. Make it for the customers. And a great way to do that is to take your frequently asked questions. You already know what they are. Right? You already start there. Next, do a survey to your audience. 5 questions. What do you want to know about? What are your biggest challenges? What are your biggest fears? What are your biggest, what do you love most about this industry? And from there, you can create so many titles, you won't have time to make them all in a year. You know, success on YouTube is about being who you are in a way that people will receive. And of course, structuring that, you know, in a way that the search engines will receive.
Sure.
Regularly consistent shows, keyword optimized titles, good description boxes, good thumbnails, and you'll find that you have a good show. I often tell people, and I'll stop talking with this. I often tell people this. My clients, don't even worry. Like, no one's going to see your first shows, right?
Right.
They're going to be so bad. So let's not worry about the titles. Let's not worry about the thumbnails right now. Let's just get through the content. And if the content is good, yeah, we'll go back and rephrase those titles and make better thumbnails. But if it's bad, we just let it stay bad. And then we make the next batch.
Right.
And oftentimes the next batch is just the first batch redone. So it's going to be bad. Own it and build on it.
Awesome advice. Folks, take it to heart. Get your YouTube channel going. People say YouTube, you're too late if you're not doing it. I think Owen disagrees. I think I disagree. It's a great time to get started on YouTube right now.
That's
Doesn't
right.
matter.
No doubt about it.
Hey, Owen, tell people where they can find you and your show so we can close out with that. And listen, Owen, thank you so much for taking time today to be on the program. This is one of the most fun episodes I've ever done in all the broadcasting I've ever done. Having you as a guest has just been a thrilling, exciting thing. Leading up to it, I just couldn't wait for 1015 to happen today. So it's just been a great honor and a pleasure to have you on, and I'm glad to call you a friend.
Well, the pleasure was mine, and thank you so much for having me on the show. I've been following your content for a while, and it's nice to finally break through the posting curtain and actually get one-on-one time with you. So if you guys are interested in following me and what I do, I want you to go to thebusinessofvideopodcast.com. Join the Messenger chat bot, okay? It's free, it's easy. You just click the blue button, and that is where you'll get content from me once or twice a week. From that content, you can connect with me everywhere else because my links will all be there. The next thing I'll say is if you're serious about YouTube and you want to jump in, you want to kind of start slow but learn how to build a channel, check out biztubeacademy.com and join the course. Normally it's $97 a month. Right now, we're giving you 5 modules, all 5 modules for $197. It's our back to school special.
Wow.
We are encouraging you to go back to school on marketing and learn YouTube from the bottom up. It's designed for business owners. So it's designed for someone that's running a business. And if YouTube is your thing, you want to learn it, you want to learn it correctly, check out biztubeacademy.com. And we hope to see you there or on the chat bot. We're ready to engage with you, and we're so glad to have met you on the show today.
You may see my name come through on the sign-up page. Oh, that sounds awesome. Again, thank you so much. I want to do a quick shout-out to Tachi, Michelle, Nats. We've got Coach Jenny, of course. We mentioned her earlier, Brad, and whoever else showed up. If you didn't leave a comment, I didn't know that you were here, but thank you. We had a good crowd over on Periscope for a while, and of course the podcast crowd. Thank you so much for listening. Please like, review, subscribe, share. Go visit Owen at his channel. You can visit me at Todd.LIVE. You can find me by searching Todd.LIVE on any platform. Even though that's not my name, I do show up in the first moment you search for that term anywhere, so you can find me very easy. Thanks again, folks, for listening, and with that, have a good week and stay productive, my friends.